Greetings everyone! This is a quick promo before the video begins. If you're new to the channel and you didn't know it yet, I am actually an author in addition to being a YouTuber, and I have 2 books that you can get on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1 and The Occult Mafia. The first is sort of a bizarre, absurdist kaiju anime mashup, and the other is a horror noir story with a hint of a western thrown in there. They're both set in the same universe, and at this point have received mostly positive reviews, so you might want to check them out. I've provided Amazon links for both of them down in the description. They're both available in either paperback or Amazon Kindle, and Operation Red Dragon is also available in audiobook form. So if either of these strike your fancy and you want to support a struggling artist, feel free to go down and check out either one or both of them. Alright, the shameless self-promotion is out of the way, we can get on with the video. Thank you all for your support. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and I've noticed a lot of you guys pointing me towards this video and telling me I should watch it and share my thoughts on it. This video, for those of you who somehow missed it, is from the same individual who did that alternate ending to Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, in which Mechagodzilla shows up and actually does something. It felt like that video was actually made in response to all the people who defend the Polygon trilogy by saying, well, why did we need to see Godzilla fight Mechagodzilla again? We've seen them fight 5 times before. What would be so different about this? The answer? Watch that video, because it demonstrates why we would have needed to see it. Mechagodzilla in that thing does stuff we've never seen Mechagodzilla do before, because the medium of animation allows you to do more things than live action can do. I love the live action Mechagodzillas. I think they've all looked good. I haven't necessarily liked all of them equally, but they've all functioned well as suits. But that's the thing, they're suits. They're always going to be somewhat limited by the fact that a guy has to fit inside of them and perform in them. And hey, I like that, that works, but if you're gonna make something animated, you may as well take advantage of the fact that once it's animated, you don't have that restriction anymore. You can do anything. And this individual did. Now, this particular video is the alternate ending to Godzilla the Planet Eater, the final film. And it is what happens when King Ghidorah shows up and is more than just 3 strands of glowing spaghetti that slowly lift Godzilla into the air until they stop and Godzilla decides to finally fight back. Yeah, in case you forgot, I'm not a big fan of the Polygon films. Still not. Nothing's changed. But this I can get behind. And you know, it's not because it's action. That's the thing. The other common defense made by people who like the Polygon trilogy is that the reason people don't like these movies is because they don't have kaiju action. All you want is explosions and big monsters knocking into each other. You can't handle a film that's a bit more thought-provoking and isn't so concerned with being action-packed. Well, shut up, you're wrong. The reason that the kaiju fights are so disappointing, they are disappointing, don't get me wrong, but the reason they are so disappointing is because the human stuff is so disappointing. The human side of the Polygon trilogy is so dry and bland and out of touch and pretentious that it's impossible to really connect with it, to really get invested in it. But normally, when that happens in a Godzilla movie, when the human side falters, we can at least look forward to the monster side being somewhat satisfying. And when the monster side isn't satisfying, which has happened in the live-action films, then the whole movie is a waste of time. And that's the way most of us feel about the Polygon trilogy. Like I said with the Mechagodzilla animation, if that had been the official ending, if Mechagodzilla had shown up and he had engaged in this fight where he was transforming and engaging in beam wars and fisticuffs with Godzilla Earth, that wouldn't have saved City on the Edge of Battle. It wouldn't have suddenly been a good movie. It would have been a bad movie with a really memorable and good ending. But the rest of it still would have been terrible. I feel the same way about this. If this had been the official ending, The Planet Eater would not be a good film. It would be a bad film with a 25-minute climax that was, well, no, it wouldn't have been worth sitting through, because the rest of the film would have been completely skippable. You would just scrub ahead on the timeline until you got to this point, and then you would watch that. And that would be the only thing worth seeing. And what do you know? Mothra shows up and is actually a significant part of the battle, as opposed to just being a shadow that appears in someone's mind and might not even be real. And not to mention that Mothra in the Planet Eater appears without context or explanation, so if you're one of those so-called new fans these movies were supposed to draw in, you would have no idea what that was even in reference to. Why is there suddenly a butterfly in Haruo's mind? I don't know. I don't have any context for what a Mothra is. That's the new fan perspective, by the way. However, with this particular ending, Mothra is incorporated into the finale. However, I will note that this is not the most original part of the video. Mothra's role in this particular animation is pretty much the same role she plays during the grand finale of Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019, in which she dissolves, is absorbed into Godzilla, and that gives Godzilla the extra edge he needs to defeat Ghidorah. But in a way, I almost feel like that was done as sort of a take that to the Polygon trilogy, because it's kind of like this guy is saying Doherty did it better. And most people who have seen the Polygon trilogy and King of the Monsters would have to agree on that. Even if you're someone who doesn't like King of the Monsters, you have to admit it did a better job than the Polygon trilogy all the same. But the animation contains references to other Godzilla movies as well. For example, when Godzilla plants his feet and tail before blasting his heat ray at the moon, it makes sense in context. That's clearly a reference to when he does something similar in Godzilla Final Wars. There are things like that sprinkled throughout, and yeah, it's a little bit fanservice-y, but in context, it works. And it is still far more interesting than anything we see in the actual movie. And I cannot stress enough the fact that the Godzilla Polygon trilogy is among the least animated pieces of animation I have ever seen. That final battle with Godzilla and Ghidorah, it's just 3 strands reaching down and picking Godzilla up very, very slowly until they drop him and he falls very, very slowly. And that's it. That's not worth seeing. The dialogue certainly is full of technobabble that tries to convince us that something interesting really is happening. It's just stuff that we can't perceive. And the voice actors, God bless them, are trying to make it sound interesting, but it doesn't work. You see this piece of cardboard? I could explain to you all the stuff that's happening to it on a molecular and a subatomic level, all the chaotic bits that are happening to make this cardboard what it is. And I could sound really impassioned about it, but as long as all you're seeing is the piece of cardboard, who cares? It's just a piece of cardboard. That's not interesting. So what we see here actually is interesting. Seeing Ghidorah rendered not just as 3 glowing strands of linguini, but as the actual dragon that he was always meant to be, and how even when he takes that slightly more familiar form, he's still doing stuff that we've never seen him do before. Manipulating space and time, blasting the moon out of orbit. It's really impressive. Had this been the actual finale, like I said, it wouldn't have saved the film, but I think it at least would have saved this version of Ghidorah. But speaking of the end, for some reason, this ending maintains Haruo's suicide run in the Vulture. And I don't know why. Because assuming that this had been the official ending, maintaining Haruo's suicide run makes no sense. Because in the original film, the whole reason he does that is because for some reason, he still believes Ghidorah is out there. Even though Ghidorah seems to have been killed, and even if he's not killed, we now know that the moment he starts existing in our universe, Godzilla can just blast him and he'll run away with his tails tucked between his legs. Yeah, the anime Ghidorah, as it was officially seen in the movies, is the weakest, the absolute weakest of the bunch, because he's only got the advantage as long as he's using cheat codes, and as soon as they're revoked, he's toast. The golden demise doesn't refer to Ghidorah himself, it refers to the urine that Ghidorah leaves behind as he's running away crying. But I already mentioned that. Getting back to Haruo's ending here, the reason, like I said, that Haruo does that in the end is because he's convinced that Ghidorah is still out there, whether or not he actually is, I don't know, and that he has been so manipulated by Metphius that he remains as Ghidorah's anchor, and there's just no option for Haruo to change because he's not actually a character, and thus he's not allowed to grow and mature and make his own decisions. He exists solely to do whatever the plot demands that he do. So, and I've already said elsewhere why that whole sequence is completely hollow and does not work in any capacity. But in this particular video, Ghidorah, in addition to actually being a threat and putting up a fight, he is very clearly destroyed. Godzilla gets him. It takes a phenomenal amount of effort that winds up destroying the moon as well, which I suppose might actually be a reference to Gorath, but still, Ghidorah's gone. Why does Haruo still do this? I don't know what the logic behind this is, but the fact that the video ends on this particular note serves as a reminder that the rest of the official film, The Planet Eater, is trash, and just not worth even thinking about. But this animation really is worth thinking about, let me tell you. You know, there is this trend online of fixing art, and a lot of the times it doesn't work, but every now and then you do see stuff like this, where an independent animator comes along and makes something that looks leagues better than what the professional studio animators come up with. But the defense of the professional studio animators is you don't know what it's like to work in the conditions we work through. We have oversight with producers making sure that we do exactly what we're supposed to do, and we have deadlines. So not only do we have to do exactly what we're told, we have to do exactly what we're told by a certain date. And the deadline for release is not as late as the deadline for actual delivery. That has to come much sooner. So if you knew what that was like, you wouldn't be making those claims. And you know what? Fair enough. The ending of The Planet Eater, the official ending, where nothing happens, I do not pin that on the animators at all. The animators only do what they are told to do. They animate what is in the script or in the storyboards. So if the script and the storyboards simply say that 3 pasta noodles lift a dinosaur-shaped topiary into the sky, that's what they animate. And that's not on them. That's on the writers. That's on the directors. That's on the storyboard artists. Well, even the storyboard artists do what the writers and directors tell them. So yeah, I don't blame the animators for the Polygon trilogy. I place the blame solely where I've always placed it. But as for this really is impressive. I don't know if this guy actually is a professional animator. If he's not, he deserves to be. But whether he is or not, this is still quality work. This is what the finale should have been, and it's a shame that The Planet Eater didn't deliver something even remotely like this. If you haven't seen this yet, well, don't sit here staring at me. Go and check it out for yourself. Because I've said all I can say about it for now. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.
If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, then go down to the description to find links to follow us on DeviantArt, Patreon, and Twitter. While you're there, you'll also find the Amazon links for the original novels Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, and The Occult Mafia. 2 books I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.